There's something about rivers after midnight. They don't move, they breathe, they remember. The Rio Grande stretches across miles of land. It's a ribbon of water, lost history, and if you're stupid enough to wander near it at night, you might hear something that doesn't really belong to the river. A woman crying, broken, soft, repeating the same words over and over.
Yeah, that gets me every time because grief like that is way scarier than a monster with teeth. And honestly, if this were me, I'll just curl up in my blanket and accept that the universe is horrifying.
And locals say if you hear her crying far away, you're safe. But if you hear her close, she's already seen you.
And the really messed up part is that you won't even see her coming. Rivers don't scream warnings at all. They kind of just pull you in.
And if you hear sudden splashing and silence in the river, don't go near it.
Nope, and hell to the fucking no. If she wants me to offer my soul, she's gonna be very, very disappointed.
What a creepy intro.
Literally. Well, you know what time it is. Welcome back to Two Idiots Among the Dead. After dark, where shadows are heavier and your nightmares get company.
Where we talk about the unexplainable, the murderous, and the things that linger long after you turn out your lights.
I'm Lilith, horror lover, cultural observer, night owl, and I absolutely do not do rivers after dark.
And I'm Angel. I bring typically the research, history, and, of course, the existential dread.
Tonight, we're diving into La Llorona, and not just the folklore you heard in school, the real, unsettling after hours version.
The weeping woman of the Rio Grande.
She's tragic, she's terrifying, and she will make you question every water hazard you ever ignored as a kid.
La Llorona translate to the weeping woman. Some historians trace her origins to pre-colonial, now bear with me guys, I don't know if I'm able to say this word right, Mesoamerican myths. Specifically, bear with me again guys, I don't know how to say this word. Chiucult. I'm not gonna butcher the name guys, you'll just have to look it up. It's a goddess mourning her lost children before, again, I can't say this word. I think it's a civilization that fell.
Listen, which this already makes this whole story terrifying. Even before she was human, grief was haunting, pre-border, pre-America, ancient. Also, why is it always women doing grief wrong in myths? I mean, I swear history's horror is gendered.
Now, colonization layered guilt, religion, and patriarchal morality onto the story. Maria emerges, a beautiful woman with a wealthy lover, children, abandoned, rage, and drowning.
Hold on, this isn't villainy for fun. This is grief, rage, and desperate humanity. That's what makes her linger. I mean, would you even forgive her?
She throws herself into the river in regret, denied heaven, until she does find her children. Now, she wanders, crying, forever.
And the real punishment isn't fire like most people would assume. It's searching forever, with no end in sight. Now, that's the real refined horror.
Now listen, I cannot imagine having to live my afterlife searching for my children. That's just, it's terrifying.
Yeah, fuck no. I'd be like, you're never going anywhere else besides that lake. Ever. Ever.
Exactly. And now, a century later, she's still haunting the Rio Grande.
Which is great for storytelling, but it is terrible if you live anywhere near it.
Now, the Rio Grande isn't just water, it's history. It's full of, soldiers, migrants, families, and loss.
And when tragedy repeats Folklore seems to grow even more. It's not the river, it's her. Fear protects, fear educates, and fear also survives.
Now, parents would warn, if you hear her crying, go inside. And if you see a woman in white, run.
Yeah, and if she's wet, she's serious, trust me, guys. She is dead ass serious. And also, just imagine walking there at night, mist, moonlight, the water lapping. Nope, nope, and no, not again. It is not for me.
Okay, now what is it with these scary stories and Woman in White? Like, let's just think back to our last episode where we talked about the Headless Bride in Yellowstone.
Listen, I just feel like at this point, every folklore from every state is so gendered. It's always a woman, always in white, always something to do with like a wedding or kids or something. But then you don't hear much about men as much as these women.
Not really. Well, let's get back on track here. Now, locals describe an inversion. Cry far away equals she's near. Cry near equals she's far.
Well, that's psychological terror. And sometimes you just can't trust your senses. I mean, I like that she's protective and dangerous. It kind of gives her some layers.
Now, a fisherman in Texas heard crying, and then when he turned, there was a white figure ankle deep, hair covering her face, no eyes, just, blank darkness, and he ran. Like, crying seemed also to be inside his head as well.
Well, that's horror that lingers. Not jumps, not screams. It's just always in your head, and I feel like that's kind of the worst, is if it's in your head versus seeing something.
Yeah, it's all like psychological kind of in a sense, because you don't know if it's actually happening because nobody else would kind of see it,
Exactly, it's all mind over matter.
Now, teens dared to say her name 3 times. Cold air, water stilled, and when you hear a whisper, you took them from me.
See? She doesn't say, I'll kill you. She says, you took them, and suddenly you're the problem, and that's terrifying.
Exactly, and multiple modern sightings exist, like Border Patrol agents, late-night drivers, and also the locals.
Yeah, I'd be screaming in my car. Honestly, imagine one of them showing up while I'm walking my dog. Hell no, my dog would be pulling me towards them, not the other way.
That would be more terrifying if your dog dragged you towards the fucking ghost.
Literally, and he would. He'd be like, ooh, look, it's a person. Let me go fucking get attention. Yeah, we're dead.
A new friend.
Literally, exactly what he would do.
Now, she targets children, mistaken for her own. She's jealous of happy families, and then she does sometimes punishes the disrespect.
But she's not Freddy, trust me there, guys. She's grief in motion, and the worst kind of grief. Eternal, patient, and waiting for you to slip.
Yeah, and let's be honest, regrets last forever, typically in legends.
And you can relate, that's why she hits harder than most urban legends.
Now, 2019's Curse of La Llorona, Conjuring Universe, is a child-stealing demon. It's a Hollywood horror film.
It is visually stunning, emotionally flattened. The nuisance of sorrow and grief replaced by jump scares kind of destroys the whole purpose of what she stood for.
Yeah, and still wet footprints, with the floating veil, dripping water. It's rooted in a traditional imagery.
I mean, come on, if y'all have ever seen that mirror scene, that was one of the worst ideas. I mean, it was terrifying, but perfect cinematic execution at the same time.
Now, there's been reports along the Rio Grande of a white figure with wet hair, and she's crying. Or they crying. Who knows?
Jeez, I mean, she's crying. She got that wet dress on her as well, that dry ground underneath, physics fail, and the repeated details across generations. Ugh, spooky.
Yeah, and let's be honest, some skeptics will call it a shared hallucination. Psychology explains the patterns, apparently.
Yeah, but also 100 of people can't all hallucinate the same dress. Can they really? I mean, if one person saw it, then the next person saw it. Like, if 100 people see it, is it really an hallucination?
Yeah, well, either way, it works. It is a terrifying tale.
It's true.
Now, it's midnight. You're standing by the Rio Grande. The moon reflects the black water, and then you hear her.
Soft crying, there's mist wrapping around your legs, heart's racing. You try to convince yourself it's just the wind, though.
And then you step closer. The water starts to ripple unnaturally, and then all you see is a hand rising out of the water.
Not screaming, just watching and just waiting.
And then she asks, "Have you seen them?"
And you don't answer. If you do, she might take yours. And we ain't talking about just like you, we're talking about your kids. She'll come and snatch your kids up, no hesitation.
Honestly, I would be fucking terrified. Oh, God.
Literally. All you gotta do pretty much is like answer her. Even if you say, no, I don't see them, she'll still come and take your kids, from apparently what I've heard.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the strangest coincidences in La Llorona is the encounters. Isn't how she looks, it's more so how she sounds. The witnesses that don't just hear her crying, they hear words that she's saying. Not shouting, no screaming. It's like spoken directly into your mind.
See, and that's kind of the part that I hate, because you can ignore footsteps, you can rationalize shadows, but when something talks to you, that's when your brain really starts to panic and pick it all up.
Right? And then people report her voice just changing depending on the distance. Far away, it's really mournful, kind of almost gentle in a way. And then up close, it's accusatory, like, you took my kids.
Yeah, and that's not help me, that's like, you did this, she's pointing the finger right at you.
Mm-hmm. And then some hear her whisper names, some that they might recognize, children, siblings, and then sometimes their own childhood nickname.
Yeah, absolutely fucking not. You do not get to emotionally ambush me in my own voice. Like, no, off limits, please no.
Now, some psychologists will call this auditory projection under fear. It's your mind trying to fill in gaps.
Sure, okay, but how does the mind fill in a language that you don't even speak?
Exactly. Now, let's go on to some of the variations of the legends. La Llorona isn't one story. She mutates by region. Some versions, she's drowned her kids by accident. And others, she drowned them to punish a lover. And then sometimes it's because the river took them first.
And see, that matters because intent changes the monster. I mean, all those 3 different variations could have a different thought process and mentality behind how she could be as haunting as she is and scary.
Right? And most stories that we've done so far, they've always had multiple variations depending on where you hear them, where they're originating from, and, who's telling them.
Exactly. So it's like, how do you really decipher what is real and what's just kind of made up just to make the story more fabricated?
Mm-hmm. Now, in Mexico, she is a warning. In border towns, she's a protector, but also a threat. Now, in Central America, she sometimes appears before floods or death.
Oh, yikes. So that pretty much means, like, she's not just grief. It's almost like she's an omen of some sort, which honestly, that feels worse than if she was just some, like, ghost that was representing grief.
Yeah, so it's, I guess in a way, like, how it's stated, like, in Mexico, she served as a warning to children, probably late at night. And then, like, in some towns, she's a protector, but also can be considered a threat to others. And then while here in Central America, she, sometimes appear, before, like, floods and, deaths, which is kind of interesting if you think about it.
It's a little crazy, honestly.
Yeah, and now, in some indigenous tellings, she isn't punished at all. She becomes a guardian spirit. Angry, yes, but she is righteous.
See, now, like, I can get behind that version and like it a little better because she's technically, like, not forgiven, not damned. She's just some kind of transformed being that's just kind of there.
Mm-hmm. And in the colonial versions, she stripped her of that power.
Huh, that's very shocking.
Yeah, and almost every sighting describes the same thing. A white dress, hanging, heavy, wet, and dragging.
White is supposed to mean purity, but in horror, it's death laundry. I mean, every woman that's in horror seems to always be wearing white. Like, why can't they wear, like, black or something else than white?
Well, I mean, there are some people that dress in black. I mean, like witches and, like the plague doctor and doctors. They can be girls, right?
I mean, yeah, but they're not ghosts. That's the worst part.
True. But I mean, I guess in a way, if you think about it, you take something white, which is like supposed to mean purity, like we said, and then you take it and you, like, I guess, stain it. And it changes the entire meaning of it.
Yeah, I mean, that is true.
Now, some folklorists believe that the white dress does represent burial shrouds. Others think it's a symbolized marriage that's abandonment.
Oh, now that's cold. Abandoned bride energy? Like, oh, we don't need more of the abandoned bride energy. We got too much of that in this.
Now, witnesses say something else, that the dress does move against the wind.
Yeah, nope.
And sometimes it floats, and other times it does stick to her body like it's fused to her skin.
See, at that point, that's not even clothing anymore. That's evidence appearing.
Okay, now why children hear her first. Children report hearing the La Llorona more often than most adults do.
Which is horrifying, but it also makes sense because I feel like children are the easiest minds to get into first.
Mm-hmm. They're more perceptive of the spooky stuff.
Exactly.
Now, children exist closer to imagination. They haven't really learned what to ignore just yet.
Exactly, which is why they do still listen to their instincts. We silence ours, and we kind of have more of a thought process, in a way, than children when it comes to those instincts.
Mm-hmm. Now, many adults who encountered her as a child do describe the memory as if almost unfinished, like something that was paused mid-sentence.
See, that's just trauma pretty much, without any closure, which is also known as classic haunting behavior.
Yep, and some say she stopped them from going into the water that night. Others would say she would chase them out, basically as if she was protecting them.
Yeah, I mean, either way, at that point, she won't mark them, she wants them, she's not going to stop until someone tries to stop her.
Mm-hmm. Now let's get into what she wants. The biggest question is simple. What does La Llorona want?
And the scariest answer is, even though you assume it's children, we really don't know what she wants.
Mm-hmm. Some believe that she does want her children back. Then others think she wants acknowledgement that she's there, to be seen.
See, that tracks because grief ignored becomes violent.
Yep, and then in some stories, people who speak to her survive, but, are changed in a way.
Yeah, and that's sort of worse than dying and having to live with that change.
Mm-hmm. And now, what do you do if you hear her? Folklores offer warnings. Don't approach, don't answer, and do not, for the love of God, follow the sound.
So, pretty much, guys, keep this in mind. Just mind your own fucking business.
Now, some people do say prayers work. Others also say iron charms.
I say, just leave. Literally, just leave, walk away, exit the scene, please.
And never cross water after hearing her.
I mean, that feels like solid life advice in general because, like, if you hear something on the other side of the lake, are you really gonna get in a boat, be like, or swim and be like, oh, let me go check out what this sound is. Why is this person trying to talk to me across the river?
I'm sorry. There's a woman in white where you can't see her face, and she's just standing there. There is no way in hell I'm going near her.
No, but some dumbass will do it anyways.
Yeah, well, we're only human.
Yeah, and more than likely it's some guy thinking he's gonna get lucky to get laid, and then, to each their own.
Mm-hmm. Now, some final thoughts now is that, while Llorona survives because she does reflect us. The loss, regret, and the memory.
She's technically not a monster in the dark at all. She's more so a representation of, oh god, I can't speak either. See, you're like reflecting on me.
I'm sorry, today's not a good day.
Yeah, well, you know what? She represents the consequence of ignoring pain. Like, I'm gonna ignore the pain of you making me stutter today.
Apologies. But anyway, if you think about it, rivers carry stories. Water will carry those stories.
And sometimes it also carries ghosts.
That is true. We're two idiots among the dead, and grief never stays buried.
If you hear crying near the water,
Don't answer it.
Just don't even follow it.
And do not assume that you're alone.